Rob, let's go to the NBA and Draymond Green, of course, doing his podcast, which is hot. His podcast is getting a lot of downloads, as you might imagine. And he was talking about Victor Wembanyama, like everybody else is talking about him. And he talked about what players. He said there's only 4. I mean, he said there might be more, but he named 4 players in the NBA that he definitely would not trade for Victor Wembanyama, and said that might be all. Here he is.
I'm not sure how many, but there's definitely a few. LeBron wouldn't be. Steph wouldn't be. I don't think Luka would be. Joker wouldn't be. And I think there's a few more names out there. So let's just say for the sake of standard roster spots, 450 spots, 435, 440 would be, which is saying a lot.
I think he's overestimating it, right?
I mean,
first of all, LeBron, not because LeBron's not better, but LeBron's 38. Nobody would trade Victor Wembanyama. I'm looking at it from the Spurs standpoint.
Chris,
right?
100%.
There's no way you're trading
100%.
him for LeBron. Right? I mean, you would get fired on the spot. Even if LeBron came there and got you 1 championship.
And there's no guarantee, Chris.
Right.
And there's no guarantee. Like, I'm totally. This is like you just saying, like, well, you can never trade LeBron. So many great players have been traded. Like, stop it.
Kareem,
okay?
At his request, but still.
Yes, but still.
Right.
So many, Chris. And it doesn't mean, like, this is a young man's industry. And you can't tell me that you would just, you would trade that guy for somebody who's older and established, like LeBron. Like,
no way.
No way would you do that. I agree with you.
Even Steph, who's 35 and presumably has more years left than LeBron, I wouldn't trade this choice for Steph. Again, would you?
No.
Just because of his age. He's 35. And then I'm going to say that the only 3 players in the league, Rob, if I'm the Spurs, that I would even consider trading this pick for are Giannis, Jokic, and Luka Doncic. And that's not even saying I'd do it. Those are the only 3 I would consider.
You just say you would consider it, right? Those would be people you would consider.
And Giannis and Jokic are 28. But I look at this and say, okay, obviously those 2 need to win now because of their age and just that's the level stage of their career. They've won or, played at a high level in Jokic's case. They're trying to win. We're not ready, right? We're not ready yet. And I've seen if Giannis doesn't have the right pieces around him, if Jokic doesn't have the right pieces around him, as great as they are, they're not winning.
Right.
So, and then Luka, Rob, and I love Luka, so I'm not saying this definitively, but there are beginning to be questions about how you build around him, correct?
And like, whether or
can
not,
you get another star to fit because Luka's always got the ball, you know what I mean? Jalen Brunson is something we didn't think he was. When he was with Luka, we didn't know he had all this.
Exactly. So maybe being around him, Chris, stumps your growth or your potential.
I mean, the way they have, and I don't know if it's just he doesn't play that way in Slovenia.
That could be possible, though, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the way they have him playing. It's ball down. He does everything. And so Rob, after considering those guys, if I'm the Spurs, thanks but no thanks. I'm going with this pick. And I'm going to see what this kid becomes.
I'm with you. There's too much on the line. You're talking about this guy like he's a one of a kind, Chris, a unicorn, a 7'5" guy who can handle the basketball, shoot from anywhere, score from anywhere, I should say. defend, do whatever, everything you need, and so you're going to give up that potential and that young age, Chris, where you could have that guy for the next 15 years.
Right.
No, I can't. I need to see. What did I say yesterday, Chris? I need to see him fail. I need to see him fail. Is that fair?
Yes.
I need to see him fail.
I am totally with you. And look, he might not be better than Nikola Jokic or Giannis or Luka. We're not guaranteeing that, but I'm gonna give it a try. I'm going to give it a try and see. And Rob, it's interesting. This kid right now, don't you think I just kind of popped into my mind. It's almost like he's a basketball, at least from what we see. We don't know what he's going to become, but like he's a basketball equivalent of Shohei Ohtani. Do you see what I'm talking about there?
Yeah.
I mean, he's 7'5", so let's say the equivalent of hitting and pitching, especially doing it at a high level, both of them at a high level, is like a 7'5" guy who's obviously a center, but who can play like a guard, like a smaller guy, And he can do both. He can play big and he can play small. He can play offense and he can play defense. I mean, he's like right now. I mean, again, it's all perspective. We don't know what he's going to become. But the prospect, he looks like a prospect that's kind of like a Shohei Ohtani.
Right, something like a unicorn. I know that's a common saying, Chris, but something we haven't seen.
Yep.
And something that you just can't, like, something that you can't pass up.
We didn't think was
predict.
possible.
Right. It's not possible, so it's kind of hard to say, hey, no, we're going to take a flyer on something that we're used to, Chris, or something that we know is a commodity. Do you see what I'm saying? Rather than the unknown. But this unknown has so much potential and promise. We want to see it come to fruition. We have to see it through. He's one of those guys you have to see through, Chris.
No, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. And Rob, and this is not to disparage, and I think you'll understand this, Giannis at all. But Giannis has now played 9 years in the NBA, Rob, and he's got me one title. I'm not saying I think he should win more. He'll likely win at least another one, maybe. But I'm just saying, like, even if you get one of these great players, to your point, a title is far from guaranteed. The Cavs had LeBron for 11 years and got one title in the two stints. Jokic has now played, I think this is his 8th year. He hasn't had a title yet, as great as he is. So let me try this kid for 15 years, as you said, and see what he becomes.
Right. And you said it. Cleveland had LeBron, Chris, for 11, think about that, 11 years.
Yeah.
It ain't that easy to win.
Nope. And that's one thing you're seeing in these playoffs, not to get off on a tangent, but you got to be mentally tough. Not just, it's a lot of stuff that goes into it, besides just what good of a basketball player you are. But Rob, our colleague, Ben Maller, we keep hearing his
Ben
his
Maller,
who does a fantastic job here on Fox.
Ben's one of our favorite guys. He's the best.
And his show is outstanding. He's great on the air.
Yes.
But he was saying that, the fact that Wembanyama's going to go to San Antonio, he's going to like basketball Siberia, as you call it. He didn't use that term.
NBA Siberia, right.
Right, NBA Siberia. I disagree. And he brought up, he said, look, they were great for 20 years with Tim Duncan and nobody really cared. They were boring. They were dull. But they were boring and dull because that was Duncan's style of play and personality.
And who he is, Chris, right?
Yes. And that's not, I mean, that's fine. He's just a understated, you know what I mean? Like that was just, his game was very fundamental and not, high flying and all that stuff. But if Wembanyama is exciting, the Spurs will be exciting. It's nothing to do with the name on the jersey or the city. It is about that player. Jordan was exciting. So that's why people like watching the Bulls when he was there. Magic was exciting. Bird was exciting. Like, if Wembanyama's game is fun to watch, it's not going to matter that he's with the Spurs, Rob. I don't think. I think they're going to draw viewers. I think they're going to draw, fans. Like, we know the fan base there is great, even when they were, quote unquote, dull. But, I just think if his game is exciting, the Spurs could become, one of the most exciting teams to watch.
Absolutely, Chris. I don't think that's a stretch. And it is different because the expectations are so different. Tim Duncan, Chris, what did he ever say? He was like he just didn't say anything. He was like, he just played basketball and went home.
I may be missing one, but I can't really think of one quote.
Chris, like he played, and he just didn't say. The dude he wanted to wear sandals and shorts, and he was laid back, and you didn't hear any noise from him.
Yep,
that's who he was,
and that's what the team they were dull. I mean, they were great, but they were dull, and they didn't capture America's attention. But it wasn't because they're in San Antonio. It was because their superstar had that type of game and personality. So I have no doubts, Rob, that if Wembanyama is fun to watch, and initially, Rob, even if he ends up being a dull type player, which I don't think he is, you're going to tune in because you want to see a 7'5" player who's moving and, not like stationary like a George Murashan or Sean Bradley or something like that. So he's gonna be must-see TV, at least at first. And then I think if he is a great player like everybody's projecting, and he's exciting and fun to watch, I think it's gonna be huge for the Spurs. Not just in winning, but in excitement level and fan base and maybe even drawing fans all over the country, Rob. Not just in San Antonio anymore.